This is a leaf spring, and attached to it, an Icon add-a-leaf. The leaf spring not only connects the axle to the truck, but also supports all the weight over the rear axle. It is responsible for the ride quality in the rear as well as the load capacity. I installed an Icon add-a-leaf in June of 2023, about 4 months ago. And so far, I'm not quite as happy with it as I thought I would be. Let's take a look at what happened. I installed this add-a-leaf and immediately took measurements before and after, took video. I documented the entire process. If you're looking for an install video, I have a video detailing just that. The Icon add-a-leaf is designed for two different applications, the 1996 to 2023 Toyota Tacoma, as well as the 2000 to 2006 Tundra. It's not uncommon that two different models of vehicles will be compatible for the same exact suspension part. However, with my Tundra, I'm most used to seeing my parts matched with the 2001 to 2007 Sequoia. Other than sharing the 3.4 liter V6 5VZ engine in certain model years, there's not a lot of overlap between the first gen Tundra and the first gen Tacoma. Sure, on the first gen Tacoma you can swap on Tundra brakes, but really they're not the same vehicle, and mostly they cannot share the same aftermarket part. So it's a little unusual that this add-a-leaf works for both and they didn't make a different part for each truck. Now, if you think about it, what's the difference in bed weight between a Toyota Tacoma and a Toyota Tundra? I would have assumed it's minimal. With the Tacoma, you can generally get a 5-foot or a 6-foot bed. Some of those beds are deeper and some of them are shallower than what's available on my first gen Tundra.
There's a little more to unpack here. To make the most fair comparison, I went and looked up the curb weight of a 2001 Tundra Access Cab 4-wheel drive V8 with a 6-foot bed, and the curb weight of a 2001 Tacoma Extended Cab V6. I looked up the curb weight of both to compare them. The weight difference in total vehicle weight is 926 pounds. If we assume 45% of the weight is on the rear axle, that means a difference in weight of 417 pounds rear axle to rear axle. As a percentage of the weight over the rear axle on a Tacoma, that would be like the Tacoma increasing 18% in weight over the rear axle. So part of this is definitely that my truck is just heavier, possibly a lot heavier than what the spring was designed for. If you Google other models of Tacomas, you'll see that they can also come in lighter or heavier than the model I already mentioned. So what gives? How can Icon rate this leaf spring for so many different applications, and which ones reliably hit 1.5 inches of lift?
Specific to my Tundra, I have somewhere in the realm of 200 to 300 pounds of permanent weight on the back of the vehicle. I've got the camper shell and I've got a plywood sleeping setup that stays in the truck full time. I didn't think much of this extra weight, but maybe I should have, and you'll see why in a second. Icon in their description says that this is a 1.5 inch lift spring, but the lift height will vary depending on bed weight. This kind of feels like they're already copping out on the advertised lift height, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Also, let's clear up some confusion about the add-a-leaf and the overload spring. If you're following Icon's instructions for this add-a-leaf, you will remove the overload spring. That's what Icon says to do. Now, I, out of an abundance of caution and not really needing a ton of lift, figured I'd be good at 1.5 inches of lift, and if I got 1.5, I wouldn't need any more. If you do go against Icon's instructions and keep the overload, you're probably looking at 2 inches of lift based on what they're advertising. I didn't have a reason to keep it, so I followed the instructions, thought I was good. I've heard of plenty of people keeping the overload spring in without any negative consequences. I just didn't have a specific reason for wanting it in there, so I took it out. So here are my actual results. I measured immediately before and after. I only measured a 1/2 inch of lift gain, taking the overload out and putting the supposed 1.5 inch add-a-leaf in. I got an inch less lift than advertised. You can market this any way you want. You could say I got 66% less lift than I was supposed to. However you like to look at it, I did not get what was advertised. I did not get what was advertised to the point that it's kind of dissatisfactory and maybe even misleading. For having seen good reviews on this product, I was a little miffed and didn't understand what was going on once I installed it and measured the difference. I had assumed that this add-a-leaf would turn out the way I thought it was going to, and instead I was left confused as to why things didn't work out. And that's a bummer, because for $200, this seems like a pretty good deal of a product. You can easily have this installed in your own driveway or garage with some basic hand tools, and it's not that involved. It looked like a really promising deal. But missing that inch of lift kind of bothers me, and I'm left to wonder whether it will sag in the future or how it will continue to perform. I wanted to wait a little before making this review, but at 4 months I have a better idea of what's going on and how I feel about it. To be fair, the ride quality quality did improve, and I'm happy for that. I can take it at speed, I can take corners, I can go off-road. I like all of that more than I did before I had the Adeleaf. So I'm not going to disparage Icon on that front. I think the ride is good, and I enjoy that. Just for ride quality, this is a pretty decent setup, and I could see you picking this if you wanted lift and ride quality, and you can guarantee that you're going to get the lift you wanted. In my case, I only kind of got the lift I wanted. The truck is barely level now, and I did get the ride quality that I expect for a $200 part. Just a slight improvement over stock. In theory, it's possible that some of the problems I'm having could be from excessively worn stock springs. I'm not sure under what conditions or for what purposes Icon tested this Adeleaf, but I could see how if your rear springs were compromised, maybe the Adeleaf simply isn't enough and can't deliver the lift that it's promised. That seems unlikely to me, but I could see it being possible. I would tend to think that no matter what, the Icon Adeleaf is going to improve your height by the lift advertised, and it's not dependent on the condition of your stock spring. If your springs are sagging an inch, you're still going to raise an inch and a half. You just be an inch lower than a brand new stock spring and the Icon Adeleaf. That's how it works in my head. There's, I suppose, a small chance that I got a bad spring from Icon. I looked into their warranty. I don't intend to warranty this product, but I did go ahead and read their warranty. Basically, they have a limited lifetime warranty, it seems, on these kind of parts, as long as you're not racing it and it was installed as instructed. In my case, I'm good on both of these fronts and could try the warranty process, but I won't be. I think my results fit somewhere in the gamut of reasonable possible things that could have happened based on I have one of the heaviest beds for this Icon Adeleaf application, and I do carry a little extra weight in the rear. I still feel like I should be closer to 1.5 inches. It just kind of eats at me. I'm already $200 in the hole, and had I known that this was going to be the outcome, I might have saved up for a full leaf pack or gone a different direction. Having only spent $600 to level the front of the truck, I kind of assumed that for about the same price I could lift the rear of the truck. But with full leaf packs being on the order of $1,000 plus a set of rear shocks, I was easily going to be over $1,000, which just didn't feel right in comparison with the front suspension. I understand that modifying trucks is a pay-to-play game, but I really thought I could save $1 here and still end up being happy. And maybe I should have thought twice about the price. A $200 Adeleaf probably isn't going to be a silver bullet, and I should have known better on that front. That's the way it goes. Sometimes you do make the right decision, and sometimes you're left wanting or guessing a little bit as to what could have gone better. This is my first vehicle with leaf springs, and I wasn't quite sure what I was dealing with and what the tiers of modifications and performance were going to be. I did get suckered into the Adeleaf hope a little bit and probably should have gone with a full leaf pack. If I had to guess, this product probably does do better on Tacomas. There's a lot more reviews on Tacomas. I hopped on Tacoma World, looked around. There are definitely lots of install videos, lots of excitement, and lots of questions, not as many long-term reviews from Tacoma owners, which I was kind of disappointed. YouTube didn't have a whole lot either. Lots of install videos, not lots of reviews. But again, I suspect it does better on Tacomas. However, I did some digging on Tacoma World. There was definitely some sentiment on there that you should just go for the full leaf pack and skip the Adeleaf step, which is advice that I had not heard previously, but makes sense knowing what I know now. I'm not convinced on this one. I would love to hear from Tacoma owners, especially Tacoma owners with different length beds, different generation Tacomas. How has the Icon Adeleaf performed for you? Because for me, it's been okay. The ride quality is good, the lift is not that great, and I'm kind of just stuck in the middle wondering whether this was even worth putting on my truck for the amount of time and money I spent, which was minimal, but so were the gain. It is what it is. I'll keep trucking along, and maybe I'll replace it down the road. If you want to hear about suspension parts that I've had better luck with, go check out this video on Bill's Team 5100s. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks so much for watching.